ZANU-PF and its brutality, they cannot do it because they are all surviving under the system of ZANU-PF, everyone. So that is the challenge we are all having. So we need to sit down and find a way. How can we deal with this problem, Uncle Chair? It's a very difficult one because it involves money and food on the table, which is exactly what we need to live and survive. How do we deal with it? How do we mobilize our people to fight? The only thing we know is that ZANU-PF cannot give all of us, but it will give a few. We don't have to look at them as our enemies. Let's leave them, but let's rally behind ourselves and build ourselves to fight this system. I think that's all that ZANU-PF is doing. And right now, I'm telling you, if one of us rises up today and begins to be noticed, ZANU-PF is going to buy you, right? That's the reality. That's the reality. I don't know. That's my own contributions, Uncle Jack. I don't know what others are saying, but I'm listening and I'll be getting views from everyone else. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you very much. Can I have people in this order? Can I have Max to come through, Two Boy, and then Real G? Let us go with that order. Max, Two Boy, and Real G.
Awa chokwa chakanaka chokuti mudhara uyatengesa dai tatine pfungwa dzevamwe kuti ndine zhara dai ndadya. I don't think Zimbabwe ingada yakasungunuka ini. Apa pangoitwa kutengeswa mukanya vatengwa ndochokwadi tangona kunyeperana zvedu kuti anzi ko vari kuenda kubasa kupiko kwavari kuenda mukanya achagona kuimba kupiko mukanya kubasa kupiko ari kuenda mukanya kunotanza ari kunoimba chicha ari kunoimba angotengwa atengwa chete ndochokwadi ichocho. And we have learned it even kubva kuparliament kana kupi mazimbabwenzi hey azongoratidza kuti tinotengeka ndochokwadi chaicho ichocho tinotengeka ende zvinotorwadza wana bosomboda kuzama kuti hey uyu ndiye ari nani but at the end of the day unongona kuti every man have got a price. Umwe anotoya pano aisa kuti isu takaenda kudiaspora unotsvaka kurarama saka hey what uri kuzvishandira handiti is because ukutoramba zvekudii zvekupuka zvinhu zvokuba. We all know that mari yaweekend ndiyo kuba yese saka yazonaka ndazibozi yabiwa mukanya zvasiyana chinongoti mukanya wacho ari kutotibirawo arongototibirawo kana akangotora mari iyo bozi angofanana nembavha yacho iyoyo weekend wacho bozi mari ari kuba haisika iri clean. Atongotengwa because at the end of the day you can never attack the person ari kutokufeedha. ZANU-PF ndiye akutomufeedha ndenenge yakutomudza kuti zenzele mangwana ndamunomboripota nyaya yechi yakati chatonzwa kutotudza nezvemazanu laambota zezipura tamuona akuuya kuzanu lachinyepa manje ipapapo hapana apa atengesi vanava ari compromised kwangosara vana taita seti ndo vakachena chete kwete vana zenzeri. Thank you uncle.
Yeah. Okay.
Uncle Jedi ndauburuka rega ndingotaurawo sound observation andaona weekend aisa corruption yakanyera kunzi baba vemarudzi havana defeat.
Alright, yes.
Vaisa bhegi remari laughing emoji vaasisa something and then Zimbabwean flag. Ipapo muri kuona that statement here inototitaurira what has happened.
Yeah, it's a loaded statement.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Yes, one more statement here.
Uncle ndo paunona kuti chamisa chibaba manje. Vaanoika chamisa kana paunozoda kuti chamisa munhu atori. Vamwese vari kungotengwa manje. Vanoti chamisa wati vari kudzidza manje vari kuvhurika meso. Kana kuona kuti munhu asingatengesi manje ndochimufana chiyachi chakaramba zvacho nanhasi ringoramba ava muri kuvaona vanotengesa chaichavo makuvaona muchadzidza mazimbabwenzi makunatsoratidzwa kuti kune vanhu vanotengeka manje
kokana kapuwa
hana backdoor yakapuwa we.
How do you know?
ZANU-haidyirwe musaga.
Mabackdoor kuona vari kubudaka vana mukanya vateta video kuti ndikuenda
ZANU-haidyirwe musaga.
muromo chaivo ari kuenda kubasa kupi ZANU achirwe musaga baba ndozvafana kuziva izvo ZANU inokushambadza inoratidza kuti tamupa motikari zenze rakabuda zvakapuwa zenze remota wakaudzwa nani ando akaiona yakabuda yakaadvertise wapa akamira
kocha wakamuona siwa here
chabangu akapuwa pachena hauna akaenda kumba kwa ed haumuona vari vese
unaona ari
kodye nekufamu vanakomana vari kufamu.
Right. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. Right. Two boys, you have to come through.
uyu Max uyu ane une chiovhaovha here foni yake
Nai Mwendas. Chamuri kuti kutengesa apa chii? Kutambira mari here kana kuti kuchinja behavior yemunhu?
Exactly. That's a good question.
Jejazi inini kana Wikno akatondipa mari nhasi idhi akati amhofu imimi kuti musanditi ndiri chakutika oi kana 5 million. Ichitongopinda chete.
Olengo atotengesa
sezvangoitika papa mukanya atotengesa hatakamboiramba before.
No.
And Max, you might have when right. Two boys. Go on.
tichakutsvagira foni
Boa atacha ma-conditions. Mariyo shuwa tsanondoitora. Ende chingonohedha chete muakaunti mangu kuti pfacha. Unozvina zvanotaura ipapo. Saka kutengesa guys, imari yangobvawo kubalance guys. Unongoitambira. And I'm quite sure Tsano, today we can bet. Mukanya Mario anonoipiwa. But just wait after the show. And unwa mukanya Tsano, mukanya munazuza unwa wake mimi. Just wait and mimi mukazina nguva Tsano ka mutore yawe panapa munzwa zvanenge achitaura.
Right.
Noti mari yangu imari yedu guys kana idhi yakati
problem
nai Mwendazi ko mukandipa ndikapedza dzenu ozotaura kumwana mai. Ndozvinoitika guys imari yedu ngaitorwe idyiwe inga isisi president yedu akamboti mango strategy takadi kuti vatengesa yakamonzi mango strategy tambirai shandisai but mukati garai muri yelo saka ngatingoshandisa okay. So okay, you can let me know if you need anything. Let me know if you need anything. Okay. Saka ngatingoshandisai that mango strategy iyoyo yakatorwa napresident. Mukanya ngava anotora imari yenyika votoita zvavanoda then tozoona kuti mukanya unhuwa unoita sei. But pana Zenzele guys, Zenzele akangogara ari mutengesi nakare guys. Nokuti mukanzwa madays aya paainzi ko wadi kuno interviewa Nyube and mukarisa interview yake na Shoti chaza interview yoti Shoti yanga kutora ma-private parts achamisa thing like that. That is kutengesa ikoko. Because dai Zenzele akati guys but mimi guys mimi amungandipe track komadi kuona vanhu vandiri kuinterview. I think those people they are the one who are in need of assistance. Yotsane mimi mukaisa kaharawa kakumashire mangu wamoti mofu yamutore $10 inini harawa ndo inenge last number indiri second from last. Ini ndinotobuda muraini kuti ambuya vatange vadya. Ndozoti inini handozinosota zvangu madhiri angu samwe. But Zenzele akaisa muromo wake pamberi pemaovheti kuti iye adye. Achikanganwa vanhu not idhi anokurakidza kuti haafunge vanhu vaida help vanhu vainterviewa noti vanhu vairakidza kuti they live worse than animals. Saka kutopa Zenzele motikari vanhu vaikutovaitira kuti musoro kuti hamuna basa imimi ane basa ndiZenzele ezvinezvi. Ende Zenzele achazowana here mainterview kune maovheti yayo ukaona ovheti achabvuma kuti Zenzele uya pano undi interview then that ovheti yomutengesi futi. But pana mukanya apa guys siya atambire mari chazomujaja ndisada pa example yatsana kuti mukanya kwaari kuenda ngaasapiwa condition yekunzi aya ndo masongs ako
But mimi tsane mimi are you not being unfair kuna Zenzele? Imimi kuna mukanya muri kuti izomirirai tizoona ko kuna Zenzele wacho ngatingomirirai kandi tizoona.
Zenzele haasiri aida rubatsiro. Zenzele akainterviewa vanhu vaitaura their living conditions.
Yes.
saka Zenzele dai akatanga ati guys inini hamungandipe this track kuva ndakainterview ava atoo madhara makuru, what do you think about them?
Ko
Asi
kana ningi vakatopiwa ningi ko kana vakatopiwa yopo.
but ivo hatina kuona
And then
vachipiwa.
government we want you to continue doing to bring these so that because we cannot be everywhere. But you are doing excellent work. We want you to go even to my remote areas because we want to identify you and radar, tower identifier, so that they will no longer be forgotten, people.
Idina hakusiri yatinovaziva vanhu vana makamera
Hi guys.
akapiwa
As we did not see them no as you want to say.
mavakapiwa maovheti yavo zvingadai ZBC yakazvimisa ko takaona ingwani vaipiwa tuma one room amuna kuona vachiiswa paZBC. Saka ED ozomisa ava vatonzi vakainterviewa naZenzele, ED onovapa then oramba akanyarara. Tinge yakazara from back to back, every page yakazara kuti maovheti atakazovapa. ED haatovomisa opportunity iyo guys. But Zenzele kana akangwara Zenzele achida kutemba kuti ground rake rirambe riripo, anoti track yapiwa iyaya but a track guys, I'm gonna flog that track mari ndakunopa kana vanhu vandakainterviewa. If I was him ipapo maybe unongwaitira ED wetu maziso.
Yeah, vakaipa.
Say but imari yenyika himango strategy mofadara vaitodawo track takatozinyimwa zvaona but akapiwa ndaitoti hamofu zvedu zvaita torai tunorima madhimbo ekumusha uku. Imi tsano mukatonzi nhasi 4 million tsano, mukanzwa ndakuti tsano watengesa wapiwa 4 million nenchipenga, mukwashatora mari but chazokujaja neunhu hwako.
Opa unava nobody kusho.
Okuti cable 3 uchi cable 3 butoza kuti munhu akatengesa but imari kubva kumari magaizi mungati mimi mari yabva mari maoiramba mari haina basa kuti yabva kupi guys, unongoisa mhomho ushandisa but usachinjwe hunhu nokuti wapiwa mari.
Right.
Ngaanoridza masongs ake mukanya, akangoridza masongs arisiriwo chete ndopatichaona kuti munhu yeshuwa munhu anga akatengeswa.
Aiwa but iye wikinochivayo ari kubhiga mukanya kuti my favorite musicians. Saka ningi wikinochivayo hapana masongs asingade kaninga mukanya. Even kana iwa yekuti ningirikini yamamvemve ari kuvaifarirewo futi.
Veza mupini chaiwa chembere dzoveza mupini harawa dzokanga mazai todzi ngairidzwe iyoyo itopera obva aisa mamvemve obva akatamba here
ya vakaipa.
pata ayi andekubati
listening for quite a while now, and this is dividing opinion. And when an issue is dividing opinion like this, almost like straight in the middle, like a 50-50, that means there is no right or wrong answer in this. Those who are accusing Mapumo of selling and Zenzele for selling out could be right, depending on which side of the fence they are sitting. And those who are accusing, oh no, they're justifying Mapumo and Zenzele. There's nothing wrong with what they've done. They're just, being paid. They also could be right. I mean, for me, I think it's right for Mapumo to take this money, because we might disagree with okay, how did Wicknell access this money? How did Wicknell get this money? And there's so many reasons. I mean, there's so many answers to that question. It could be through corruption. It could be, unfair distribution of national resources or allocation of tenders, which is true. But the mari ikapiwa mapfumo, let's say Thomas Mapfumo apiwa 1 million. There is no way Thomas Mapfumo is going to be using that money to, to buy more Rolls Royces, or to go abroad and going on those expensive holidays like that. What Quick now does. It's very likely that Thomas Mapfumo is
How
going
do
to
you
use that.
know?
Can I finish, please? It's very likely that Thomas Mapfumo is going to use that money Zimbabwe, benefiting Zimbabwean children. I mean, we can judge him. We can.
Mwendas, please, can you stop with the commentary?
Mwendas, can you just be respectful and allow people to finish their point? I'm sure you will get your point, your chance to speak on. Um, we can judge Mapfumo on how he's going to use that money, and otherwise we can just look at this money as marirungo tenderera society. If Mapfumo at the end of the day is going to keep that money in Zimbabwe, use it in Zimbabwe, and is benefiting children, let's say Mapfumo builds an arts center, and name it after himself. And then all these Zim dancehall artists and urban groove artists starts recording there for free, or start educating kids about music. Are we going to judge him harshly about that money? Let's say Zenzele, he's going to use this car, for his research about Gukura Hundi, zebra forces, and people actually end up knowing the truth about what happened, and that helps us to actually understand about where this country came from, where it's going. I mean, I'm on Mapfumo, I'm probably could be more positive about it, but on Zenzele, I think probably not, because I know Zenzele, um, he was very, very critical, of ZANU PF as a whole. He was every time there was we now giving out these cars. He was put in a post. We've got a hospital in Pilo that doesn't have any radio, cancer machines, whatever. But he's receiving this money, and it also shows with as a society we are not as principled as we want our leaders to be. It's very, very easy for us to sit on this space here and want our leaders to be principled, to be to shun corruption, to do everything right. But I can guarantee you here, Guti, Pano space Pana, they each and every one of us has benefited from Zimbabwe's corruption one way or the other. And by that, I'm not suggesting good corruption is right. I'm just saying good when we criticize or when we condemn corruption, we should condemn it no matter who that person is. There was a time that Nkosana Moyo said the problem with us Zimbabweans is we criticize corruption because Tavarirwa Panzi. We are not in a position to maximize the benefits of it unto ourselves. We are not benefiting from corruption the same way as our leaders are benefiting. That's why we criticize them. Once in that position, we will be quiet. And look at the whole CCC crew. They were criticizing corruption left, right, and center. And now they are inside. They are quiet about it. You know. And here, like I'm saying, Kuti, most of us here in this group, on this space, at this moment I'm speaking, somebody has benefited corruption. It's either you've, for those in diaspora, you've sent a car to Zimbabwe, you know somebody who knows somebody who works at Zinara on the border, and you've utilized that, you've exploited that opportunity to get your car in. It could be getting a job, and you know somebody that works at a certain company, you utilize that opportunity. And that's the same way as your relative, your friend, Asungwa, or you've got a relative and says Purisa or the courts. People have exploited those systems. So when we criticize corruption, let's be very, very let's be very, very honest with ourselves. Eh, corruption is like these are like weeds that grow with the crop. And sometimes when you can walk to zero corruption, you're going to have it's a total overhaul of the whole situation. What Mukanya has done, it's a very, very difficult opportunity to decline, because we're talking of 1 million US dollars for a gig that's going to be probably an hour. Mukanya is old. He's not going to perform for 5 hours. He's going to perform for an hour. Who in their right mind is going to turn down $1 million for a gig? Uncle Jed, you've got your space. If ZANU-PF approaches you today and say, today we want you to preach ZANU-PF, all everything that you preach on your space is going to be pro ZANU-PF. We want you to be anti-opposition forever. 1 million I can guarantee you, Uncle, you will take that meter. If you don't, I would be surprised. In fact, I don't think you will do that. You will take it, and that will change your life forever. I think the way we should judge you, Uncle, we should judge you on how you're going to use that money. If you're going to take that money and then you go to a rural area, you build schools in your area. I don't know where you grew up. You go where you grew up. You go to the schools that you went to in Zim. You start transforming those cities. You start sponsoring anti-drug campaigns in Zimbabwe. That's when we see, Kudiji, you're doing the right thing, and there's nothing wrong with what you're doing. If you remember the story of Robin Hood, Robin Hood was robbing rich people and was taking money to the poor. Who knows? That's probably what Mukanya is doing through his talent. He's taking that money and he's gonna give it to the poor. On ana Enzo Aisha, vafana vezimdanzo wakapiwa mari. Some of those vafana, if they were not given those cars, and they would be struggling. They would be in the streets. They would be pushing drugs. They would be causing more chaos than we have seen. You know, I remember when Fantan was given a car. Well, Fantan was given money. He went to renovate his studio. If you look at the amount of people that went to record with Nana Fantan, those kids, I'm telling you, they've actually created the opportunities have been created for them by Fantan than what government could have done. Isusu takagara vana ava isusu, I'm telling you, we would not match the same employment opportunities that Fantan created. And Killer T years he owns properties. He's got money. He's got cars and everything, right? He goes all over the world performing, right? But where did he start his career? Kwafanta. So whilst we are criticizing corruption, and I'm not suggesting Gudi corruption is right, whilst we are criticizing it, we should also see Gudi, where does that money end up? In any what I disagree with is, let's say we can up your contract 1 billion in Zimbabwe, and then oenda kuna spend to Dubai, and that 1 billion, yes, yobva yabhenkwa kudubai, yobva yashandiswa kudubai. The Dubai public services benefits, the private sector benefits, and nothing. We as Zimbabweans, we've got a tendency of selectively criticizing.
But the real G, Wikinology has been, is a recipient of so many tenders.
Yeah.
What has he built?
No.
Apart from these, donations and stuff like that, what is it that he has built? Chamugadis, or this is what Wikinology has done in terms of building an infrastructure that gives back to the country.
Yeah, that is why I said what I disagree with Wicknell is when he earns billions and then go and spend it in America, spend it in Dubai, because that money, benefited those nations. It's more like externalizing, the country's wealth or foreign currency. But if Wicknell gives Thomas Mapfumo 1 million for his, for performing 1 hour, and then Thomas Fumo takes that money to build a Thomas Mapfumo Arts Center in Zimbabwe. Should we blame Mapfumo for accepting corruption? I mean, corrupt process of corruption. No, we shouldn't. That's
But
the same.
really, si weak no akupa mapfumo mari. Let's get things right, guys. Weak no aringori karana. Kubva mari kuti munhu wese anokuziva.
Nobody.
So weak no ari kushandiswa kuda kuchengetedza zita, kuda kuchenesa zita raED. ED cannot come forward achiinda kupa mapfumo mari. So asarudza kanenge karana kari pakati apa. So kana ED achitora mari yacho ari kumboitora kupi?
Right.
Imari ikutorwa muchikwama chenyika.
Yeah.
Yakunzi yakupiwa one munhu.
I mean,
One munhu.
whether
Does that make sense kwauriwo kuti maybe zvinhu zvakanaka?
whether ED, whether that money is coming straight from ED or is coming from Reserve Bank or coming from the national coffers, my point remains the same, that it's better that money is given for somebody who is a responsible member of the society, who can use that money to benefit the country. That is my point. Because I remember at one point, ZANU-PF was paying an international lobby organization for the removal of sanctions in the United States. It's a political organization. And at one point, they actually paid to...
Who benefited?
Right. Let me give you example of Fantan. Right. Fantan aka renovator studio yake. And
so who's
can
benefiting?
I finish my point first? Right. Fantan aka renovator studio yake. And there's about 1,000 artists vafana vemughetto vakarekoda panhingirikini pastudio ya Fantan.
For free.
And those kids, they've actually created more employment than the government.
I my brother. Did they record for free?
No, but it's money that is circulating.
My brother. Anyway, indakaregedza mbanje nokuti ndakazoti zvamusoro saka zvamukutaura zvinkoma hazvakana musoro, my brother.
Okay, I mean,
zvekuti ini ndikapiwa mari ndovaka dzimba ndoti imi michiuya muroje imimi muchibhadhara marenti mokuti mabenefit aka
saka unenge uchida kuti dzimba idzo vanhu free. Where have you ever seen even social
saka
housing
munenge mabenefita here?
Even social housing chaiyo where have you ever seen where people actually live for free? I'm just focusing on the example that you've given. There's nothing that is
the
free.
example that you are giving, my brother, they don't make sense. I'm sorry.
I mean, it doesn't make sense to you. It doesn't make sense to you, but that's the reality. I'm telling you, Guti, there are
you are allowing theft.
There are thousands of...
You are allowing theft to happen. Then we say we're gonna benefit from theft. You are allowing corruption to happen. Then you say it's okay. We're gonna benefit from corruption. It does not make sense, my brother.
Nobody said corruption should be allowed to happen. I'm telling you, Guti, corruption in Zimbabwe and it's happening. Yes, it should be uprooted. But what I'm trying to say to you is there is some parts of corruption as an unintended consequences. They've actually benefited the people. Right? That's why in the example, each and every one of us in this space, somewhere, somehow, they've actually benefited from corruption. They've taken advantage of that.
Talk for yourself. Talk for yourself. You
I'm
can't
I'm a social commentator, so I'm allowed to comment on social issues. Mendas, if you didn't know, I'm allowed to comment on social issues. I cannot
you cannot paint a brush with everybody. No,
I cannot personalize a public issue. That's not how it works. If that works for you, you do that, not me. Right? My point is just clear. Corruption in Zimbabwe is so ingrained in us to the point that there are people who are benefiting from corruption. There are also people who are being affected by corruption. The thing with corruption, it just randomly happens. At one point you are benefiting and the next person is not. Right? I gave you a very, very good example that there are people who got jobs, very, very good jobs, through corruption. You know,
crime.
Zinara Jairo, Barbate
But
Bridge
but
got
does it make it with really right?
no, it doesn't make it right.
That's what we are saying with Mukanya. He is messed up.
No, he
He doesn't
hasn't.
matter. He
He
messed up.
hasn't. Mukanya hasn't. Mukanya, if the society, if the Zimbabwean system was clean, Mukanya would have made the million without having to he was going to get that million anyway if the system was clean, but he's managed to get it through weak now. So in a way, it's 6 or 9. Shakangufanana, he got the money that he deserved.
Operation Mawani, guys. Oppressed people.
Ona mafungiro acho ka mafungiro acho akapenga ekunzi mwana wangu wakura achina anotsvaga mukadzi iwe wobva wanotora mukadzi kumatererini wobva wati ababa ndauya naye chete chero ari mukadzi.
What's wrong with them kinds of material? Sir,
Avana
what's
siya
wrong
vane
with
kumatereri
material?
navo vana muna sekwe.
You see,
Unotora
Uncle
mukadzi
Jet, this is typical classism. You want to class people according to have and have nots. You're now
kumatereri
classifying Van Tererin as subhumans. Why? Why?
kushabhini kuri kwenedzi matererini wonzi ndanotora mukadzi mumatereri wotora mukadzi mushabhini woti baba chero ndauya naye chete watora mukadzi mustreet maavenue ngoti chero apo chete mukadzi baba tabhenefita ndozvauri kutaura iwewe.
So what's wrong with them kinds of Mushabin?
Okay, saka zvatorit hande tsano hande kumberi uchazozviona kana wamutora.
You can't you can't lecture people.
Hi guys, yeah.
You can't.
Alright,
No,
I
wait,
see a
Uncle
real
Jet. I can't.
GRB, then I move on to the next one. But
I can't let this one go. You can't lecture people on what is and what is not a good wife. If you're so narrow-minded, thinking a good wife can only come from a place that is not materialini, that is not a shabin, you've got a lot of growing to do. And I don't mean growing as in age. I mean growing as in understanding the matters of life. It's a very, very complex subject, and I'm telling you.
Do you have any kids, real?
Why are you personalizing this?
No, I'm just asking you. I'm just asking you.
I know. Let's not go there. What I need you, G, can you come to land and then I'll bring in others to speak.
Why are you personalizing? I mean, okay, I'm gonna let Uncle because I think we're getting diverted. Nevan who are trying to personalize issues. Personally, from a Fumo, I think he deserves it. This guy has been singing for as long as we've lived on. So one way or the other, he deserves to be a millionaire through the hard work. So whether he got the money through Wicknell or he would have got it through his music, it's 6 and 9. To me, it's the same thing. Maybe for Zenzele, it's a bit different for me because he's a journalist. There's some ethics around journalists, the profession of journalism that I think probably he's been compromised. So, that he needs to be held to account. With the Zenzele, are you going to be remaining independent whilst you've been given money by the system? Because you're supposed to be the eyes, the ears, and the pen of society, but you're now being paid by the establishment. How does that work? Thank you.
Right. Yeah, but okay. Right. Can I bring in the next speakers, in this order? Dr. Tadini Padare, Signoro, and then King Jesus come through, Tapiwa and Mr. Moy. Let us try to go with that order, please.
Koma Gerard makadi koma Titus ndinovimba kuti muri kufara ende mhuri dziri kufara.
I think we'll go that propusha.
Iyi ndichangoita touch and go nendava yekuti I just saw it as an opportunity yekuti maybe as people that identify, the majority of course, who identify with the opposition will have a chance for us to self-introspect and to reflect. There is a conversation that once happened, which was a conversation about the opposition leaders, who the majority of should have they just viewed it as work even though the cases were to do with corruption, disadvantaging the worker, etc. And yet the main message of the opposition at that time, being born of labor movements, was the protection, emancipation of the worker, the empowerment of the worker, and the increase of the workers' benefits. So should these leaders have been participating in something that is counter, outright opposed to that position? And when the same leaders are the ones that are usually blowing the trumpet, Yekuti ZANU-PF is corrupt, should those leaders then also participate as defendants, as defenders of the same ZANU-PF people they would have identified in a speech as being corrupt? When they are brought to book, should they be the ones acting as their defenders? In essence, tomboti daenda ndiri lawyer, zvinoita here kuti inini satadini ndinobuda everyday ndichiti Wikine is corrupt. Ndibva ndati ehe anzi nehurumende, the state has found him also to be corrupt, but ndobva ndati nekuti ndiri lawyer ndini ndakuenda kunomudefenda. Is there no conflict? And the majority of people, because the names that were being said there were names that they found to be favorable characters that they love, they said it was okay because it is just work. Never mind kuti nezuro ndindaipa speech yekuti Wikine is corrupt, mangwana ndindakwenda kunomudefend. There, what we were doing was breaking principle. Breaking principle because the person who is now doing the wrong is someone that we find to be adorable or someone that we hold dear in our heart. And that was bad, and I still hold to say it is bad now. The principle is that there is something that is corrupt that is happening, and you should not be party or partake of that bad thing. Those are people. And that is what Mukanya has done. Never mind the extrapolation that people are trying to now do, which has not yet happened. They're creating figures in their own mind that maybe this is how he's going to spend the money. You're not in his head, you're not prophets, you can't go into the future and dictate how he's going to spend the money. Not that it justifies it, even if he was to spend it in the way that you propose or suggest that that is how he's going to spend it. It would still not justify the act yekuti receive the money. Why would it still not justify the act yekuti receive mari iyoyo? Ndeyekuti, I'll give you an example. And maybe Mkoma Gerard muchandibatsira nemhinduro, Mkoma Titus anenge achikwanisa. Ukauraya munhu, ini ndoziva kuti wauraya munhu, ndokupa bhara rekuti umukube kana kuti umupushe kuti unomurasa. Am I complicit to the murder? Am I complicit to the crime? Mkoma Gerard.
Oh, yes.
Good, that's number one. Number two, kune chinhu chinonzi black market organ selling. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Yekuti mukabata munhu ngunzu, mumucheka, moba makidney, mumusirawo one, munongomudhakwisa, mumubira one, mumusiyawo ari muhotera mamunemamisa. Moenda unotengesa one iyoyo. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. If I participate in such activities, then I use that money to benefit my hometown. Have I done a good thing? Have I done a good
thing? Pablo Escobar.
Exactly. Pana Pablo Escobar. I buy drugs, I sell drugs, and I destroy another nation because I'm not selling the drugs maybe in my country, or I'm selling the drugs to another country. I destroy the future of that country, the youth of that country, but then I use that money for the beneficiation of my own country. Ndo sponsor mateam ebhora sezvaita Pablo Escobar, ndopa vanhu employment, ndo supporta political parties to a point yekuti iye anga akuda kuitawo president. Is it a good thing? The obvious answer is it is not. So it is interesting when you hear folks here trying to have secular reasoning of justifying by principle that they can never justify. Ndikada kuiunza kune culture yedu nemaZimbabweans and some of the things that we believe. Zvakafanira kuti unobvuma here kuti hama yako ikuchekerese iwewe kuti wane chikwambo so that izobatsira village yese. Would you say that that's a good thing? You know, so it's interesting how people are trying to justify something that is wrong. When Zimbabweans say that the government and these characters, these oligarchs that have been developed are stealing from us, it means they are stealing from every single one of us. And I should not kudzia moto wembavha kuti inini ndingozvijustifya kuti inini ndabenefita ndobva ndati plus mari yachanga yakabirwa isusu and I'm one of those people that have vakabirwa. Because you're not bringing the 1 million and then say, let's redistribute it amongst all of us, portion, since it was stolen from us. You are not. So you become part of the crime. If you were to use that example as justification, then Wigner will still be justified in doing what he's doing. Kuti ase munhu muZimbabwe no chero ndikabira among maZimbabweans, I am also what do you call it, owed this money, or part of the beneficiaries of this money. I just happened to be benefiting more than the rest because the rest do not have the proximity that I have to the center of power. Azvishande, gentlemen. Tinenge tichibreaka principles are very fundamental. And for what? Simply because we want to play fanfare. It's the same crisis that we had the national leaders, the opposition. Kuvaudza kuti apa wakanganisa is not a problem. It doesn't mean that you hate the person. It simply means that they've had a lapse in judgment, and if they can change their position, they'll change it. ZANU-PF haipenge kuti iri kupa munhu 1 million. Mofunga kuti hazvina basa, ingori basa. It affects the psyche, the national psyche, the collective consciousness. Kuti the rest of us takungoti saka zveshuwa kana mukanya wataya takatemba achingotorawo. Saka inini ndikangowana mukana wacho ndinofanira kungotorawo. It makes the youth who are supposed to be at the forefront of some of these fights just to say the leaders that we think are principled or that should be saying no to this are taking it. So why shouldn't I be an ice boy? Why shouldn't I be a simp? Something, then do benefit. Because it didn't zaraka. And anyway, I'm just trying to gain something. ZANU-PF is quite aware of what it is doing. And it is said that some of us who purport to be opposition are promoting the action without understanding that it directly eats into opposition, destroys the foundation of opposition. That's the sad part. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was surviving my dictatorships, where people try to use justification to participate in corruption or you could benefit from corruption. This is what I had to do in order to survive because Zimbabwe needs money. I want to say that that is a lie. It's not even a category lie, it's just an outright lie. Every dictatorship, the means of survival always depends by siding with the dictator. Zvafanira kuti panguva yaIan Smith vanhu vakachuza kuti vada kuita ma-liberation war heroes understood kuti aiwa pane two choices. Ndikaregera kuenda kusango kundokonoita darling kuna Ian Smith ndonojoina selous scout, kudya kwangu kunenge kuri easy, ndinotorarama zviri easy ndisinganetsekane kuti ndicharumwa nekatekete here ndaenda kuMozambique. Vanokaziya that bores into your skin and creates those sores that are not easy to treat. They took that risk over kungonokrosa ungonopiwa uniform inyowani onzo aselu scout, and you stop the liberation war heroes from winning. So if we want to justify some of these evils, and I'll term them evils simply because we're saying inini ndiripa pressure yekuti ndinoda benefit, do you understand that kudya kwauri kuita ikoko is coming directly from the blood of others? I always use the example yekuti the corruption is ZANU-PF has gotten to a point whereby it is now commonplace for kids 16 and below to be prostitutes. So that is the proceed that you are eating. The moment you say hakuna chinhu chiri as basic as paracetamol kuchipatara, a bandage, vakadzi vanoita give birth vanonzi uya nekenduru rako, uya nebhaketi rako ega, ine zvinhu zvese izvozvozvo. The moment you're not benefit from it, you are benefiting from that same lack iri kuwanikwa nevakadzi vavo vanenge vari mumahospitals. You are benefiting from that lack yekuti pane mumwe munhu aenda kuchipatara akafa simply because there was no pain medication or a very basic procedure. So hapana kuchena kuripo pamari apa yekuti you can look at it from the perspective yekuti aiwa I'm in a bad situation, so I am doing this to just survive. You have to understand by so doing, you're perpetuating the system and you're taking someone else's life to preserve your own. I used to say, my days in 2008, by shorter, whenever you choose to be corrupt and say, inini ndoda kukata line kana kuti ndoda kukwanisa kutenga chakawanda than what has been prescribed, ndozonochitengesa kuseri. What you have effectively done is to make sure kuti umwe munhu ari very marginalized, maybe even more marginalized than you, because atomira paline ane mari yekutenga one bag. Iwe uri kuita corruption yekuti paline ipapo ndoda kutenga mabag 100 ndozomaita resell setutsaona. Mumwe munhu ari more marginalized than you, you have actually signed their death certificate. That is the truth of the matter if you look at the equation and how every element of that equation is related. But we have had this tendency of pretending to be ignorant to that fact. This is what makes us make my justifications as if we also take ZANU-PF to be silly, that it doesn't understand why it is giving $1 million. But the good thing about conversation at ZANU-PF told you that it understands. I do not take no, eventually everyone will bow down to man. So the idea is to put your favorite champion. I've made them bow down. So what about you, who has not in any way demonstrated that you are a force to be reckoned with? Kana iri mari yeropa usatore, nekuti ukatora mari yeropa iwewe, you have also become part of the crime. Wadziya moto wembavha, no matter how much you look at it. I think for today, ndo zvega zvandanga ndichida kungotaura mukomajirani. But I think don't depart your place.